you answered the first part about how knowing foreign languages, can help from language to language or in your own language. But have you noticed like a decrease in some aspects of your ability in Dutch? For example, in English, I've noticed some of my spelling has gotten a little bit worse because I try to read in Spanish. Let's say if it's something, if I have the English version and the Spanish version, I'm going to read the Spanish version. So I've noticed, maybe lack of uh, reading in English because I try to read more in Spanish and maybe writing. I have to think like, how do you spell that word? Oh, I think that's wrong. Like because English is a little bit tricky with its spelling like that. Have you noticed anything like that with your native language where it's kind of gotten a little bit
Yeah.
worse?
Sometimes it happened that I you know, like it's same like as starting like you know, like the engine of a car, you know, like it takes some
Uh,
time before the motor is warm before you can drive, you know. And it's the same when switching to another language. It takes some time before you are into that language. And I even have that when I speak English. So for example, now I join a longer interview of you just in English, right? Then I speak a better English than when I would speak English for 2 minutes in a video, for
mhm.
example. And after that, Spanish and Portuguese. It takes some time before you are really with your mind in that language and that you feel very comfortable, you know.
Right.
Switching between languages is a very difficult aspect. Some people don't realize that, but
I
it
was going to
is.
ask you. It is?
It is, yeah. Like it takes some time. Well, I think it's a good. I already compared it with the car. You know, it takes some time before the motor is, you know, ready, and
Right,
then
right.
it's the same with speaking a language. So, for example, when I need to speak a language with a stranger, you know, and that person just has 2 minutes time, then at the moment that I feel like, oh yeah, cool, I can speak that language, that person is leaving, you know. And when
Yeah.
I would have a longer conversation, for example, with you, as what we had last time in Spanish, the first 5 minutes I speak, well, I'm still like warming up, you know, and after a while, I the language is in my heart, you know, and then I speak it better. So compare it with fitness, you know, like when you're doing muscle exercises, you know, like the first 5 minutes, your muscles need, yeah, to do well, they need to be ready, you know. You're not doing the heavy exercises in the first 5 minutes, you know, and
Right.
that's feeling that same experience. That's the same experience which I have when I'm speaking a language. However, that's also the reason why I would have these mistakes as well when I speak Dutch, my mother tongue. Is that I'm yeah, basically I need time to that my brains are like realizing, okay, I'm speaking Dutch, and
Right.
it's weird. Yeah.
And you mentioned something, a phenomenon that I've noticed. I live in Mexico City, and I've
Yeah.
noticed with my own just Spanish. Anytime you can get me in kind of like a conversation format, it's like, oh wow, my Spanish is like really nice. But sometimes, for example, if I'm just walking out of my apartment, I need to say something to the doorman, or like I see a buddy in the hallway. Like I noticed that my Spanish is just kind of like, it's not, you wouldn't imagine my Spanish is as good as it is, like talking to me in conversation, because like, maybe I'm thinking about something. Of course, I'm thinking in English, and then like someone says something to me, or I need to say something, like it doesn't come out so nice. It comes out a little clumsy, and I'm like, man, what the heck, And I start to think, oh, what's up with that? But I've noticed that just like being able to sit down and relax and speak to someone, like the language comes out, at least for me, so much nicer, as opposed to just like needing to use it like at a moment's notice.
Yeah, it's
That's
also
just something that I've noticed.
you feel comfortable, you know, like when you know someone better. I think it's also easier to catch the words, you know, like when you know someone for a longer time, for example, it also feels more comfortable and yeah, to speak that language, you know. And I sometimes also have moments that I'm like, yeah, that is, uh, how do you say that I speak, for example, a lot of Spanish during the day, and indeed when I have to speak Spanish, Dutch after that, I'm like, hey, why do I have to speak Dutch? I don't want to. And sometimes my mind is just saying, okay, no, I'm right now in this language, and it's weird. Sometimes one language is better than the other language, while it is
Right.
supposed to be better. You know, it's really crazy. It's but it's interesting though. I mean,
Of
I
course.
would say it's a sort of like, if I would make an illustration of this, it would be like a sort of like my brain. You could sort of like yeah, it contains different closets, and containing different language information, and you always have to put the right words in the right closets. And some closets are getting empty because they're like, yo, you're never looking for my words in the closet. Okay, and then that closet is closing its doors, and then I barely remember the words of that language. So there are some languages which I barely speak, and then these closets just don't want to open their doors, and that's the thing which I have, like, so there are like 10 closets in my head which are more active, um, or maybe 12 closets, and other closets like are, well, it's the same, like, yeah, imagine in your room, like when you never go to one closet, you don't know where your books are anymore. You don't know.
Exactly.
That's the feeling which I
These
have. So
closets don't want to let you in. They're like, nope, we're staying closed. Not
yeah,
opening
yeah,
them.
yeah, like that. Like this. I have like there are 12 languages or something which I just speak way more, and the other 17 I don't speak so much. Or it's also
Right.
because of the Corona circumstances. Like this year, I don't have the chance to interact with tourists on the streets. So yeah, it's sometimes a little bit difficult. But however, I'm still trying to maintain it. I'm trying my best.
Wonderful,
When I'm alone,
wonderful.
I'm just talking to myself, and
So
yeah.
you mentioned something, that I think is, you said some of these languages are so close to your heart. I think emotional connection and language learning is so important